It's time for Losses Above Replacement, the best baseball podcast to grace your ears, with your hosts, Alex.
Gosh, I have so many questions. Also, where's my car?
Splash.
Strive to love something as much as my grandmother loves buying new crock pots.
And Mac.
If you've ever been to Boston, you know that they have amazing ice cream.
Coming to you from coast to coast, it's L.A.R.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Losses Above Replacement, the greatest baseball podcast to grace your ears. I'm today's host, Mathias Kursaki, and with me, as always, we have my amazing co-hosts, Alex Clark and Ryan Splashpots. Gentlemen, we are back after a brief break. Last week, I was away. I was in Alex territory in the Pacific Northwest. So how are we doing on this fine Wednesday evening?
Tired. It is hot.
That.
It is hot as hell over here, and the mugginess has made it even worse. It was over 90 degrees overnight here, and that's rough, buddy. Especially when it had 75% humidity, something like that. It was rough. But other than that, doing good. I had a good time going to the baseball game with Mac. You guys on our Twitter know, as I got to see a picture of that the first time. Actually, that Mac and I have met in real life. So that was a time. Guys, I didn't know if you guys know, he's 3'4". Man, I know the camera does a lot.
Man, you got me.
Don't worry, it's fun.
Splash already knew that. He's met me in person too.
Splash is able to hold a secret. I'm not, apparently.
Yeah, not to spoil Mac's entire career here, but he does walk around with multiple Apple boxes.
Yeah.
And for those who did not grow up with a film class, Apple boxes are used in film to help actors have the same height. So I'm doing okay. If you saw the intro, I do have a Patrick Mahomes Funko, but that's for someone's birthday. It's not for mine. I have zero interest. So happy belated birthday, Kayla. Yeah. Woo.
So Alex, it sounds like I got out of town at the right time.
Oh, you absolutely you did. Oh my Lord.
It was quite pleasant while I was out there, including the game that we went to, where it was pretty cool for the most part. I didn't need a jacket that night, but it was, it was to the point where it was like 700 degrees on the pool deck. Shout out to the King County Aquatic Center, great facility, but it was really, really hot on deck. And my teammate and I just started going outside in between events to just cool off a little bit. It was a really fun week. I'll say that much. My first time out in the Pacific Northwest. Federal Way is a solid little area. The pool, like I said, the pool's really nice. We went to Tacoma on Saturday night to get Mexican food. Tacoma's way nicer than I thought. I don't know. I wasn't really expecting much there. And we did do some exploring at Pike Place. And it was a pretty nice experience overall. So that's where I was all of last week, basically.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Dad, you only hung out with me for one day. What the hell, man? No.
It's crazy because I thought maybe we'd have a little more wiggle room. But it turns out, for those of you who maybe have some experience going to swim meets or swimming at any point in your life, you know that club meets take a really long time. I'll have you know that Masters meets take even longer. We showed up at about 6:45 a.m. each day, or a little earlier, 6:30, to warm up. And because of where we were in the timeline, most of the days, my teammate and I were both in the last events of the day, so we would not be leaving until around 6 or 6:30. It was great, but that is the one thing. If you guys ever decide to go to nationals or any Masters meet, if it's a lot of people there, it's going to take a long time to get through the day. So be prepared. Bring food, bring drinks, anything you might need, entertainment. Bring it with you because you're spending a long time on deck.
To give you guys an idea, I had offered hey, Mac, I would like to maybe come and see see you swim at your swim meet here. And he said, unless you want to spend all day there, I'm going to save you the hassle. And I'm like, yeah.
My family friend, who is one of our old babysitters, lives on Bainbridge Island, and she wanted to come see me race. But she has a 9-year-old daughter, and we were like, all right, so how will we make this work? So she only ended up coming on Sunday because it was an early enough session where we would be done early, and then we could go like to the Space Needle and stuff. Point is, yeah, I spent a lot of time at the facility. Like I said, great facility. U.S. Masters did a great job putting on the show. And yeah, so that's how I'm doing. It was thunderstorming pretty badly up until about a half hour ago here. But yeah, so anyways, since we last left off, last time you guys heard from us, we did a live show on trade deadline day for the last 45 minutes to an hour of the trade deadline. And we now have tabulated the results of our infamous trade deadline draft. And let's just say,
I'm so curious.
We're mixed, to say the least. So we each had 2 guys that actually got traded. The thing is that Alex is the only one here who got a player and a destination right, and he managed to do it twice. So, Alex, congratulations. Nice. You beat us 4-2-2. You had Suarez and Naylor both going to the Mariners. I happen to have Bednar and Ryan O'Hearn getting moved. Bednar went to the Yankees, not the Dodgers. O'Hearn went to the Padres, not the Mariners. And Splash had Merrill Kelly going to Boston. He went to Texas. And he also has Cedric Mullins going to the Phillies. He went to the Mets. So that's the results of our trade deadline draft. Before we get a little further in, any surprises here? Like any guys you expected to get traded that didn't get that didn't end up getting moved, or any guys who got moved that you weren't really looking out for?
I'm actually not even going to say a player. So I'm just going to say an entire team. The Minnesota Twins went full fire sale here and got rid of basically anyone with a glove that's not named Byron Buxton. Like, that's what was so interesting about going through the trade deadline, especially doing the live show with Splash, was that it made, like, I'm not going to say it made no sense because that's not true either. But normally when you hear fire sale, you're like, oh, maybe they're getting rid of a few good players. No, they got rid of everyone. Like, anyone that had value from Griffin Jacks, Johan Duran, all on now different teams here. And the only player that's left there is arguably the number 1 superstar in Byron Buxton, which, again, he had a no trade clause. But
he could have been moved.
He even said he was okay being moved. But
actually,
did he not say that he was okay with it?
No, so that's the thing, is that because of the no trade clause, he told teams no, basically. His agent said no, because there were multiple teams that were going to try to trade for him.
See.
But
Okay.
yeah, he shot that down.
Yeah, fair enough. And if that's maybe just didn't like the teams that they were talking with, something like that, I don't know. But everything that I've been hearing about Minnesota over the last few weeks has been nothing but negative here. And even the news today here with their ownership now expanding to 2 more ownership groups as well. Really not a good look for the fan base. But no, the entire trade deadline felt less of a fire sale and more of a nuclear bomb on the organization itself. Because, again, it is completely... the best way how I heard it described here was on Instagram, actually, where someone took a picture here of all the goodbye images that the team had to say. So they had to send it and said, shout out to the Twins social media admin for having to get all of these going at a very quick rate. Yeah, because it was legitimately a full picture page worth of different goodbyes to all these very well-known players.
Yeah, really, it caught me completely off guard that they would go full on. I remember, so for Mesmerized, I wrote a trade profile of the 3 relievers from the Twins. Duran, Jax, and Varland. And I straight up said, I'm not really expecting all 3 of these guys to get moved. Well, guess what happened? All 3 of them got traded. These are all guys with multiple years for as many as 5 years in the case of Varland. And that's the thing, is Louis Varland is also a local guy. He's from St. Paul. He's only known the Twins in his life. And now all of a sudden he gets dealt. I mean, it got to the point where Griffin Jacks, it was after they traded Carlos Correa to the Astros. that Griffin Jax walked in and asked for a trade. The Twins dealing definitely caught me off guard, for sure. I will say I'm a little surprised that Luis Robert is still on the White Sox.
How is he still on the White Sox?
I'm confused here for a number of reasons. The least of not the least of which is that it seems like each of the last 2, maybe 3 years, there have been talks that the White Sox are going to trade him. And here we are after the trade deadline in 2025, and he's still on the White Sox. I mean, he's like the last remnant of their competing window roster. So I'm just wondering if he's going to stick around. It sounds like they're going to pick up his club option, which is $20 million for next year. Maybe then they try to trade him again. But that's the one that really just confuses me. And then obviously Mason Miller, I know I spoke on this briefly in the live stream, but Mason Miller is the one that just blew me away. Especially San Diego giving up Leo DeVries. That was, I mean, that's a bonkers trade. And I guess the A's were sort of going fire sale too, at least on the pitching side of things, because they have a pretty solid offense. I'll say that much. But
did they trade Severino?
No, they held on to Severino.
Why did they not trade Severino?
I bet the thing with the Severino, it's funny because I was just talking about this with my friend earlier today, which is that it's the contract probably.
It has to be.
Because his ERA at home is nearly double what it is on the road. So I'm a little surprised Severino didn't get dealt too, but again, when you're paying a guy $22 million to be a below average pitcher this year, I kind of understand why teams shied away.
I mean, you could also use that argument for Louis Bob here too, that right now you have the first couple years of Louis Bob that were like amazing, right? This is a center fielder that you could build an entire franchise around. Since then, and since that brutal decline here, he has not looked like the same player, and he's being paid like he is one of them. Well, almost at that level. And I think that's the main reason why he's not being traded here, is that teams don't want to take that risk for how much money it is on what is essentially a gamble here. What is a full-on gamble, especially since the White Sox are going to be asking for a King's Haul for him here. And I mean, who do you think has more value between, I know this is going to be a very hypothetical, right, here, but who do you think has more value between Louis Bob and Mason Miller? Two very different positions, obviously, but one of them has been a lot better in the last couple of years, and it's not the center fielder.
It's also tough to value relievers. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're considering moving Miller to the rotation, that is an entirely different lens in the calculus and what you'd be considering giving up. So, if I'm the Padres, and granted, the Padres do this shtick with all of their prospects, that they'll hype up the ones that they don't think are actually that good, so they're better trade bait, and then they'll keep the Jackson Merrill. I know he's not having the best season, but they'll keep the Jackson Merrills of the world. They'll keep the guys that actually populate the roster and are good players for them, while they're able to trade away like loads of prospects. So if you're trading one of your best prospects, one of the best prospects in baseball, maybe that's a hint that they think Mason Miller could be a reliever for us, and you're more likely to give a starter for them moving forward as opposed to just a reliever for the rest of his ARB years.
Here's my thing: is that it takes a special kind of reliever to be able to go back, to go into the rotation, especially when you've been training for years to go that 1, maybe 2 innings here. I want to say it's a bit easier to do the reverse of a starter becoming a reliever, because you can just throw all your gas in 1 inning. Whereas I'm going to use a really old example here. And I apologize, this is not the best, but it's the first one that came to my mind here. And that's Blake Bevan of the Seattle Mariners years and years ago was a horrid starter. They moved him to the bullpen, and he became an ace closer for half a season. But yet you don't often see relievers really succeed going into the starting role unless you're CJ Wilson here that did that years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
You had mean, Greinke started as a reliever, right? I know Sale came up as a reliever.
Yeah,
that's a little.
Crochet now has
goofy,
become a pretty good starter. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, look, I've watched it this year with Clay Holmes, and I think Holmes at this point the Mets have gotten basically everything they could have asked for out of Holmes as a starter. And we're getting to the point where he probably has to move back to the bullpen because you watch him pitch and he looks just super fatigued. So I mean. Personally, I would not move Miller to the rotation. I don't know if the Padres actually plan on doing that. And partially because I remember when Miller was a starter and he started having elbow trouble. So there are concerns there if you do try to do. I think that he'd be perfectly fine as a closer, just staying there. I'm not saying he'd be bad as a starter, but I do worry about his arm health. And I think it's the tough part with trading for pitchers, especially. I mean, look, Mike Soroka got hurt immediately for Chicago, and apparently the Cubs knew that they were taking a risk. But I think, relievers are especially volatile. So if you're giving up a haul to get a reliever, you better be confident that the guy you're getting is going to be as great as you think.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of goes into what we saw in this trade deadline was we saw a ton of relievers get dealt here. Again, shout out to the Twins.
Happens every summer.
Yeah.
Which I think that brings me to one of my surprises that the Braves had 4 real and legitimate relievers, 2 of whom who have been very good this season, 2 of whom have been not particularly good, but have at least underlying metrics or historical performance. I could say, yeah, different environment could be good. Dylan Lee, he's still in the Braves. Raisel Iglesias, he's still in Atlanta. Aaron Bummer, he's still in Atlanta. Pierce Johnson, he's still in Atlanta. That's 2 lefty relievers there. And then Iglesias,
yeah, I'm a little surprised too.
Has before this season had an ERA below 3, like 7 of the last 8 years. And Pierce Johnson has been awesome this season. It's just goofy. Like you have 4 guys, they're all over the age of 30. They're all relievers. None of them are like quote unquote risks to be starters. It's not like Spencer Strider his first year. It's like, oh, well, he's eventually going to be a starter for us. So we're obviously not going to trade him. But I don't know. You see these trades every year for like multiple high leverage prospects for a random reliever. And I'm surprised the Braves didn't trade any of their big 4 relievers. I'm glad they didn't trade Sean Murphy. I know that was their rumblings there. And Marcell Ozuna, he's been better since the trade deadline. He's hitting home runs again, which is nice. He's still getting called third strikes, which makes me want to throw up. But
doesn't he have a no trade clause too, or did I make that up?
Yeah, he does have 10 and 5 rights. So I don't think there was a serious. I don't think there was a serious push for him to get moved, and he would have to approve the move with his 10 and 5 rights. But I don't know. I know the Braves internally think they'll compete next year, and I think logically that's like sound. It's
possible. Yeah.
Like your entire rotation broke. Your best player has been on the IL twice this season. Austin Riley has been on the IL twice this season. Your entire rotation, your entire opening day rotation is currently on the 60-day.
On the 60-day, which is
so
alarming.
I don't know. It just feels odd to me because the Braves have gotten decent like bullpen contributions from the likes of Daysbel Hernandez, who is 28 and I think rookie eligible still, technically, or maybe he blew through that last season. Dylan Dodd has been good as a reliever. There are other like reasonable relievers here that are under the age of 30 that, okay, we can keep these guys. And they have a wealth of arms on the farm that could be relievers down in future seasons. But I don't know. I thought they'd trade someone. They didn't trade anyone. So fair enough.
Yeah, I was expecting them to sell a little more. I believe they made one like minor trade. It wasn't. I forget who exactly they traded, but I know that they made like a smaller move. Like now that was about it. And they traded for Tyler Kinley, and they weren't super flashy. I'm not really sure if I was expecting Anthopoulos to like completely sell off, but I was expecting a little more than for them to just stand pat for the most part.
They traded Rafael Montero to Detroit,
right?
Okay. And they sold Stuart Fairchild to the Rays.
Okay, so those are their moves, yeah.
Like
one of the things I would like to say, kind of playing a little bit of devil's advocate here on why it's good that they stood pat here, is kind of taking the argument that you said for a second there, Splash, that they think that they're going to be able to compete next year, and they have every reason to think that here. When your team has been demolished by injuries here, there's a level of that you're like just saying, okay, that's just rotten luck, because a lot of injuries are wrong time, wrong place. Here, there's definitely some players that are more injury prone, but that's not what we're saying here. What I'm saying here is that this team has such amazing talent that when they're all on the field, they're a special ball club here. And that is what, I think at that point, they're trying to play it safe by going stand pat here, saying, let's not jump the gun. We know that we can compete, maybe not in 2025, but in 2026, as long as we're able to keep our core. And they must have had some level of internal discussion to say that, okay, we're going to keep our core. We're going to be able to move on from there here. And in 2026, be primed again to go for the division title.
I think that's a perfectly, reasonable thing. And that's why you don't trade Sean Murphy, for example. But Ozuna is a free agent at the end of the season. Iglesias is a free agent at the end of the season. Bummer's a free agent after next season. Pierce Johnson has a team option after this season. So, are they part of your core? Is Raisel Iglesias going to be closing games for you next season? I don't think so. I think that's
probably not.
If Daysbel Hernandez figures out how to not walk people, oh man, he could be something special. If he doesn't have a 7.4 walks per 9, holy moly.
That's pretty good.
That's great, man.
That's even bigger than I thought it would. That's what you said. A 17% walk rate for your career, please. Okay.
17% walk rate. That's
that is diabolical.
That's
but
insane.
Yeah, I am surprised. Lee, fair enough. He is the youngest of the group. He's only 30 now. I guess he just turned 31. He's August 1st is the day after the cutoff, so he's technically age 30 for the season. But he has several RBers left. But I don't know. It's still weird. I did feel like they were going to make some more moves and shuffle the apple cart a little bit. I understand not trading any one of the hitter core, like not trading Michael Harris or not trading like Matt Olson or anything crazy. But it was a little weird to me. That was my on the opposite side of the Twins. That the Twins traded more people than I expected, a lot more. The Braves traded very little.
Yeah. So I mean, my next question for you guys then is, do
you mind if I bring up one more surprise?
Alex. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and this is a good surprise for me on this, and I'm going to talk about my Mariners again for a second here. That they did not trade any of their big prospects. They had a number. The biggest player name that they traded away was Tyler Locklear. And don't get me wrong, I think Locklear is going to do great in Arizona. I think when he gets solid at-bats here and gets the time to say, all right, you're our first baseman, let's go do it, he's going to be great. But I was fully expecting to see the words Harry Ford traded, or Emerson Hancock, or if you really want to go deep it down there as well, Celestine as well. Colt Emerson. I was expecting to see any of their names being traded, because that was one of the big storylines going into the deadline, is that the Mariners are competing and they have all of this wealth of young talent over in AAA, AA, single A, all the way on the farm. And yet you didn't see that. And even then, you still added 3 incredible pieces to your team here. Bringing back Gino, who checks notes, is still just a bit shy of 100 RBIs and has over 30 home runs already on the season, although he has not done amazing since coming to Seattle. I will admit that. Josh Naylor, who has been the opposite and has been absolutely insanely good since coming to Seattle here. And now basically your biggest concerns going into the trade deadline of third base and first base are now both okay here. And then on top of it, you even added in another left-handed reliever here. So now Gabe Spire isn't the only lefty in your bullpen anymore, alongside, I guess, Tyler Saucedo, which, by the way, I love you, Saucedo, but Ferguson. Caleb Ferguson's done pretty well. But this does make me ask one question then. What the hell is the plan for Harry Ford? Because he's a catcher. Like, you're thinking that, yeah, maybe you could transition him to outfielder, but his value is so much more as a catcher Here, he has a ton of speed, a ton of pop to the bat here, which again, you normally don't hear the words speed and catcher put together, but at the same time, that makes him an even more valuable commodity then. And at this point, then what do you do? Because you're not going to be replacing Cal Raleigh anytime soon. You're not going to be, trading away Cal Raleigh anytime soon here. How much longer are you just going to keep him down there without moving him around? Because I fully agree with not bringing him up to the big leagues right now, because I want him to get as many at-bats as humanly possible here, just to keep on developing that swing, keep on working down there. And the only place he's going to be able to do that is in AAA, because in the major leagues right now, unless you want to get rid of Garver and pay off all that money here and only let Harry Ford have a few at-bats every few games, it's not worth bringing him up here. And I fully expected, I didn't want to see him traded, but I expected to see it happen, especially with all the big names that were on the move.
Yeah, and the other thing was that I remember the Diamondbacks were initially asking for, if I recall correctly, multiple top 100 prospects for Suarez. And so when I saw that Tyler Locklear was the big piece going back to Arizona, yeah, I was a little lost there, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think that the Mariners did great at the trade deadline, really. Absolutely. Which leads me to my next question, because there were a lot of moves at this deadline, and I just want from you guys, who are your winners and losers of this year's chaos, let's call it?
Okay. I'm going to throw a really odd one out there at the very beginning here. I'm going to say the Twins are winners in this trade deadline, because here's the thing. You're not competing. You might as well get some prospects for your guys here. And at that point, whenever people talk about winners and losers, you're always saying the guys that traded for the big names, that traded for the pieces to help the team. You don't rarely ever talk about the teams that are basically punting on the year and are trying to make the next few years better here. So as much as we're shocked about all the moves the Twins have made, I don't hate it here. I think that their division right now is in a very interesting spot with both the Tigers and the Guardians specifically, as well as the Royals. But I don't see the Twins in that mix. I thought at the beginning of the year, yeah, they could definitely compete. But if they're saying we're not going to be able to compete and we're going to have a lot of changes undergoing, just go all in. I respect teams that are willing to just go all in rather than just, put a pile of chips out in front of you. If you're willing to go in and you know what you're doing here on this, that makes you that's a winner in my book. Is it going to pan out? We don't know. None of us know. But I respect at the very least that they had an identity, they had an idea for the deadline, and they executed it.
I'm going to go a little bit off board here. My winner is Miguel Andujar. He's been great for the Reds since getting traded over there. He had a grand slam today. So his 10 games, he's hit 3 homers, has 2 doubles, has driven in 8, if you care about RBI. Entering play today, he had a 210 OPS plus. But more importantly for Andujar, regardless if the Reds make or miss the playoffs, he got out of Oakland from last season. He gets to play in this Sacramento earlier in the season. Now he's in a bandbox and he can just hit all the home runs, have a huge offensive half season, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. So some schmuck can go pick him up and say, Miguel Andujar, he's going to be at a platoon bat for us. He's going to do something for it. Maybe not a platoon bat because he's a righty, but he's going to be like a solid contributor for us. So congratulations, Miguel Andujar. You're going to make some money this offseason. Good on you, friend.
Yeah, so Andujar is, obviously he's not quite what he was in 2018 as a rookie, but he's rebuilt his value nicely, I think. But the winner I have, and it pains me to say this, the Philadelphia Phillies. All right. The Phillies had one glaring need for their roster, and it was an elite closer. And they went out and traded for Yohan Duran without having to give up Andrew Painter. They gave up Mick Abel, yes, but they did not have to break the bank to get Duran, which, I mean, this is a guy who you will have for next year and the year after that. And so, that is just a huge, huge pickup. And they got Harrison Bader from the Twins, who obviously Bader is not necessarily like the flashiest name, but he's a solid defensive outfielder. He can play center, he can play left. And, he provides a nice right-handed bat with some thump in it to complement the left-handed Brandon Marsh. So the Phillies, they did a lot to try to lock up the NL East. I know they lost the last 2 games to the Reds, but they're in a spot. I mean, they're in a solid position there. It really, really hurts my soul to say that, but I'm having a hard time envisioning a world where the Phillies don't win the NL East now.
I get that. So I was confused by what you said earlier, that I thought we were just naming some of the winners or losers here. I have my full winner as a different team. Like the Twins definitely I think are winners. Here, mind if I go into that real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. I don't care what's homerism. I'm saying it. The Mariners are the winners of the deadline.
I think they're a winner too, yes.
I mean, here's the thing, right? You addressed 3 of your biggest needs, and you actually addressed them instead of going for, a project piece here. Like, there was every chance where I thought, oh, they're just going to, bring up Locklear, and they're going to call it good there. And no, you went out and got Josh Naylor. You could say, oh, Ben Williamson is really good at defense. We don't need a third baseman. Boom, get an offensive upgrade in Gino Suarez. Well, we do need a little more help with the bullpen. The bullpen's been really inconsistent. I mean, we can just, use who we've got here. And nope, get Caleb Ferguson in there. This is the first time since 2022 that the team has legitimately made big money moves going into the deadline here. And after a few years of the team begging them on all fours to get more pieces to help them out, they finally got the help they wanted here. And you want to know how they're repaying that in kind? Since the deadline, which is now 10 games past, mind you, the Mariners are 9-1 and on an 8-game winning streak. And I would like to bring up one more very interesting stat on there. Talking about their offense was one of the big concerns with the team over the course of the season, being up, down, up, and down, up, and down. Since the trade deadline, the Mariners have not scored 3 or more runs only one time. And that, my friend, was yesterday's win against the Baltimore Orioles 1-0 here. And that was also in a game that multiple people were starting to get sick with heat exhaustion, including one Andres Munoz. Thankfully, he's doing okay now from what I could tell. But this team looks completely different here. And I mean that for the better. This team basically took the holes that it had and actually decided to put a cast over them and fix them rather than putting just a little Band-Aid and a little kissy on it, which this team has been doing way too often.
For another team that's tied in a West division, I think the Padres won the deadline in a lot of ways. Bringing Nestor Cortez, he's had a couple solid starts. Bringing Mason Miller at the back end of the bullpen. Ryan O'Hearn hasn't exactly hit yet, but whatever. Ramon Laureano has hit a 138 OPS plus so far. Great moves. You're solidifying your spots. You bring in a DH option O'Hearn because your DH Gavin Sheets has been mid, and your left field options have been worse than mid. So now you add in another outfielder in Laureano, and you are solving your issues. And in the bullpen's case, you are strengthening a strength. You had 4 all-stars. Suarez leads the world in saves. Adam has a sub-2 ERA. Morahan has a sub-2 ERA. Jeremiah Estrada strikes out 13 guys per 9. We're just going to plop in a Mason Miller there. I know he's allowed a couple runs. Did grab a save already. He struck out 12 and 5 1/3. That's a strikeout per 9 of 20.3. That's pretty good. So yeah, you strengthen a strength. They are 8-3 since the deadline, only behind the curb stomping Brewers in the National League. So I guess the Brewers are winners because they win everything nowadays. So yeah, so shout out to the Padres and bang, bang.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know what can stop the Brewers right now. Having just watched them, it felt like those 3 games against the Mets this weekend, they played like a team that is probably the team of destiny. if I'm being completely honest. And by the way, I agree with you, Alex. Actually, I agree with both of you. The Padres and Mariners are both winners. The Mariners being at the ballpark the other last week, you have just, I don't know, there's something in the air there. The fans were loving it. I was having a good time. But anyway, I'm going to shout out the two New York teams. I think both of them took care of their bullpens. The tough part has been getting to the bullpen for both teams. Because really, I mean, the Mets had a glaring need in the bullpen, and they went out, they got Tyler Rogers, Ryan Helsley, and Gregory Soto. And the Yankees, while Jake Bird had to get sent to the minors, and I know that Doval and Bednar got off to rocky starts, Bednar's been really good the last few times out. And he's the closer at this point because Devin Williams has struggled really badly. So, and that leads me into my loser. I mean, I can't think of a lot of losers at this year's trade deadline, but good God, the Pittsburgh Pirates. I feel so bad for Pirates fans. I know it would have hurt if they had sold off more and traded Mitch Keller. And yes, they traded Ke'Bryan Hayes to a division rival, no less. But also, it was the package they got back for David Bednar. That's just not a sufficient return for a guy of his caliber. I understand he got sent to the minors earlier this season, but he had not given up a run in, I believe it was something like 20-something appearances in a row leading into the trade deadline. And the best you got back is Rafael Flores, a 24-year-old catcher who could barely make it past Double-A. Another catcher, I forget his name off the top of my head, but a guy who's in A-ball. So you basically got a double-A catcher and two guys in A-ball for David Bednar. Like, that is not sufficient, okay? Really, they could have traded Mitch Keller and gotten something of value back. They could have traded Brian Reynolds or O'Neal Cruz and gotten something good back. This is unfortunately, this is deadline that gets an F. I know that you want to believe in your guys, but it would be best for the franchise if you move forward and just traded away some of the. I mean, Tommy Pham has been good in the last 2 months. Ever since he got his new contacts in. I mean, he's been good. Every team could use a veteran like Tommy Pham, I feel like. He's a hard-nosed player who knows how to win. And they didn't even trade him. So, yeah, this gets an F. I'm so sorry, Pirates fans, but I don't know what Ben Cherington is doing.
Okay, one more loser. The Cincinnati Reds camera operators, because they do not know just how good Ke'Bryan Hayes is.
Oh my God, yeah, that was ridiculous the other day.
Oh, we're gonna pan off into left field because this ball is definitely like into the down the line. Nope, Ke'Bryan Hayes is a vacuum cleaner at third. Respect Key.
Respect Ke'Bryan Hayes, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna go kind of off the wall here for one of my losers. I'm gonna go with the Rays. I think the Rays did a very interesting thing this deadline here, where they bought and sold here. And I'm never really a big fan if you buy and sell during the deadline. I think just go in with what you've got here. And I think the pieces that they added, like, don't get me wrong, they added some good pieces. Adrian Hauser, I think he is solid here. But you also trading away Zach Littell, also doing all the different moves that they had made. I couldn't figure out, are they trying to win? Are they not trying to win? And, of course, I'm going to be called wrong very, very soon here when, some of these players like Hunter Fiducia decides to go hit for 370 next year, or they're going to find some reliever that they traded for that's going to somehow get Cy Young votes in 2 years. But at the time right now, I just couldn't figure out what they're doing, especially in a division like the AL East that is very competitive right now when you have the Yankees and the Red Sox both making moves.
Yeah, so the Rays, I thought were going to be in full sell mode, if I'm being honest. I expected them to at least move Brandon Lau, and if not Brandon Lau, they were going to move Yandy Diaz. And also there was the Griffin Jacks trade was the one that confused me a little bit. I thought maybe they would hang on to Taj Bradley and let him figure things out, because he's shown flashes of greatness at the big league level. He's just really struggled in recent months. But The Rays, I'm not quite sure what they were doing. The thing is, they've also had a confusing season. They, for about 5 weeks, looked like the best team in baseball. They went 25-9 at one point, including a dominant sweep of my Mets at Citi Field. That was like the beginning of the Mets' struggles, was when the Rays came in and dominated them on over Father's Day weekend. But then they went in a really tough spell. They, I believe, went 9-25 at one point. So it's like, what baseball team is this really? The Rays are always confusing, but this year, for a brief second, I thought they were going to win the American League, and all of a sudden, I was like, all right, maybe they'll sell. They didn't really do their deadline didn't really make a lot of sense, if I'm being honest. And I'll throw one team that I think is sort of a loser here, and I'm staying in the NL Central, the Cubs. I mean, I know you can't really control your division rival winning a dozen games in a row. You know, their second winning streak of at least 11 games in the last 6 weeks. You can't control that, all right? The Brewers are 50-16 since May 25th. But I think they need to make more of an effort to shore up that starting rotation. And their one rotation move was Mike Soroka, and he's on the injured list now. This is a talented group. I think this is their shot. I mean, this is probably the only year they'll have Kyle Tucker. I don't think they did enough. I think we're looking at a team that will go to the wild card, and I'm not sure they're making it past the wild card round or even the NLDS. So it was an underwhelming deadline for Jed Hoyer.
Yeah, and I'll jump to the other Central. I wish the Tigers had done a little bit more. They've been, since the break, they're 5-6. But it's a young core, and I think supplementing that young core with pieces from the outside, that always helps. I wish Boston had done a little bit more. You just kind of get these. Okay, the Tigers were at the top of the American League very recently, to be clear. The Red Sox, I think they could have done more to get from the middle of the pack. At the trade deadline, they were third in the AL East. They are in a playoff spot, but they're only 2.5 up on Cleveland. They're currently the 5 seed. They're 2.5 up on Cleveland. They're 5 up on Texas. And while Detroit is pretty stable in a playoff spot, I'll give them that. Your goal, if you're Detroit, you went to the ALDS last year. You want to go to the ALCS and beyond this year, and adding pieces at the deadline can help with that. And I know not every trade deadline move is genius, but sometimes adding in that influx of talent and giving AJ Hinch another lever to pull, or giving Alex Cora another trash can to bang in these big situations can help win ball games. Also, shout out to the Astros Red Sox beef in the last couple weeks, when one's accusing the other of stealing signs.
That was one of the funniest things.
This is pot meet kettle, kettle meet pot.
Jay, when the news of that broke out, I busted out laughing.
Yeah, dude, that's wild. Those two teams in particular, it's like, all right, I don't know about that one. It's hard to think. The tough part is that I feel like almost every year now it's a seller's market.
Yeah.
So a lot of I remember when in 2022 the Mets had a really underwhelming trade deadline, and I remember fans were like super annoyed. But I remember hearing that like they were trying to trade for relievers, David Robertson and Andrew Chafin in particular, and they were being asked for like their top 3 prospects in the organization for those guys. I mean, with all due respect, I like both players, but I'm not trading Francisco Alvarez to get David Robertson for 2 months. Yeah. All right. I understand that Robertson ended up being on the Mets the next year anyway, but that would have been ridiculous. But I mean, I'm looking at guys who are sellers. I mean, the Rockies, I think, got a decent return when they traded Jake Bird. I think that was solid. I think the Diamondbacks, the D-backs, I think did well with their situation. Really, I think they're also kind of a winner. I know that they didn't get what they wanted necessarily back for Suarez. Heck, I mean, they got a decent enough return, I think, for Naylor. But, they were able to trade Merrill Kelly and get some value out of him. These are guys who are on expiring deals. I think overall, the Diamondbacks, if I'm looking at a seller who did well, that's a team that I think they did a solid job with the cards they were dealt. So any other winners or losers?
I'll jump in here on this one. I got another loser here, and it's the White Sox. And it's purely because they did not trade Louis Bob. Here's the issue, right? We've already explained why you should not trade Luis Roberto Jr. With the contract that he has here, it makes it very hard to trade him, especially with the stats that he has here. If you are the White Sox here, you have to understand that you're not going to get the premier package that you want for him. You have to understand that unless you are so brutally confident that he is the next year going to come back to being an MVP candidate, you're not going to get that value for him, and his value gets worse each year he gets closer to his deal expiring. One of the things that's always been one of the big parts for Louis Bob has been the club control, and that's going away by the day. Here's what, not just by the year, by the day it is going down. And right now, if you're saying that the value isn't quite right here, unless he has a mega season next year, which, by the way, one of the things that helps players have mega seasons is having good players around them, you're not going to get that out of him. I would love to see a good year from Louis Bob. I mean, I want to see good baseball. I want to see a reason to go watch White Sox baseball. But next year, I think there's a very real chance he doesn't get traded again just because the asking price is going to be too high. And he's just going to walk eventually. And then you're even more with the White Sox. You will have said that you have had this premier talent for several years and did literally nothing with him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is the White Sox were able to deal away. They were able to deal away Adrian Hauser. It was not a terrible trade deadline for them necessarily, but I think Robert was probably their biggest trade chip. And now, all right, now you're saying, all right, you're going to pick up that $20 million club option now. All right. So what happens next year if we're in the same spot? Now he has a higher price tag to him, or his contract is higher, and you're going to try to trade him again. Now what do you do? Then you're in this awkward position where you can't trade him because he has a tough contract, and his value is low. And you're not going to get what you're asking for. I don't know. At this point, I think he should have been dealt probably last summer or even this year. I mean, his numbers, while they look ugly, they've been a lot better in recent months. And you could have gotten something, I think. I'm not necessarily saying you would have gotten the same thing you could have if you traded him after you lost 100 games in 2023. But you're going to get something between that and what you could have gotten last summer when his value was at his lowest. So
absolutely,
it's an awkward situation all around.
Because that's kind of the other bit of it that you're talking about, the contract here, is that right now you take a look at what's going to happen. Let's say they do pick up the option, and let's play both ends of this here. Let's say he plays really well. Okay, you're looking at getting probably a mid-tier prospect for him, because it's not going to be for very long unless they're going to be able to re-sign him. And I'm not sure teams are going to want to re-sign a talent that for the last few years has been batting pretty. You're going to get a mid-tier prospect and probably still be paying out the majority of that contract here to help pay for it here, just in order to get a mid to high tier prospect. Now, let's say he plays badly here. You are going to be stuck with him, and you are going to pay the $20 million and not have anything to show for it. And you'll take a look at the last 3 years, and you'll look at all the trade offers that you said no to, and you're going to feel despondent at that point. So no matter which way it goes at this point now, feels pretty darn bleak. Because this was a guy that, again, go back to last year, right? Go back to last year. His trade value was probably at its highest here between the last 3 years, last year. Here, even with the low batting stats here. Because at that point, it was a bigger seller's market last year. And the year before that was more buyers.
That's fair.
Yeah. And so you take that and you're like, okay, you could get enough to really help solidify here the team for the future here. And yes, you're gambling on prospects. I get that. But it's a lot better than trying to gamble on one player that you already know is not enough to win you a game. You might as well take a gamble with multiple players to get multiple hits here on that, especially if they're players that you've been scouting. If your scouting department has been doing their job. So, again, it's a really screwed scenario here for the White Sox. But I think what they've done by standing pat the last couple of years has really made them true losers.
Yeah, and I'll give them credit. I mean, look, I wasn't expecting it to happen, but I think looking back at it, they probably made the right move trading Crochet. Because again, Crochet.
Oh yeah, Crochet. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that was like their number one trade chip.
Yeah,
at least at the end of last year, and they got a nice haul. I mean, Kyle Teal is already in the majors. Chase Mydroth is already in the majors. Braden Montgomery probably be here in the next couple of years.
He's already
it was. What?
Didn't we see him play?
We saw Teal play.
Oh, I thought I saw Colson Montgomery.
Colson Montgomery.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
Yes. Colson Montgomery is in the majors and mashing already.
Yes, he is. He's doing quite well.
But yeah, I think the Crochet deal in retrospect, as much as it probably hurt to deal away your young ace, it was the right move for the future. But anyways, why don't you guys let us know at LAR_baseball who your winners and losers are. Maybe you vehemently disagree with us for some reason. Let us know. But anyways, it is time for everyone's favorite segment of each week. It's time for Trivia Splash. Take it away.
Hello, friends. Jim Nance, Phil Simms, yada, 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 yada. All right. We have a new game. It is inspired by a man by the name of, I have it in my notes. I was going to give a shout out to him.
Hot start.
Great start.
Yeah, wonderful start. It's called Tension. Emphasis on the 10. It's based on a soccer content creator. I saw on Instagram he does a challenge every day. So if I figure out his name, I will give him a proper shout out maybe next week. But the idea is I will give you a stat category. You try to guess the player who is closest to 10th in that category without going past 10. So you get points for how close you are to 10. So if they're first, you get 1 point. Third, you get 3 points. Seventh, you get 7 points. 10th, you get 10 points. But if they are 11th through 15th, you lose 5 points. And if they're beyond 15, then, just a 0. Sorry. So like if I gave you who has the 10th most home runs in MLB history, and you said Bartolo Colon, you get a 0.
What are you talking? It's like we're talking. He's not 10th in MLB history with his one homer.
He's not
really
close to 10th. In fact,
the amount of homers he has doesn't even get to the second digit.
Yes. So I'm going to give you an example. We are back in the 2020 season. Who had the 10th most home runs in 2020? If you said Jose Abreu, you get 2 points. If you said Fernando Tatis, Jose Ramirez, or Mike Trout, you'd get 4 points. If you said Corey Seager, Eugenio Suarez, or Will Myers, who had 15 each, you'd get -5 because they were 15th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I see where you're going.
I see where
now.
I'm going to lose this game.
Okay. I know. So shout out to the folks at John Boy Media. They recently did something similar, except it was just guessing the leader of the year in the category. So yeah.
That would be a lot of fun. I can't lie. All right. And to make it spicier, we are going to go with this season's stats. These are as of August 13th on Baseball Reference. And we'll just do hitters today. Maybe we'll do pitchers another time. The first person to 25 points wins.
I have a feeling I'm going to get to -25 at this point.
Okay, -25 would be a tough scene. If there's a tie, I'm going to go with the player who accumulates it the fastest. So, for example, if I have 10 home runs and 100 at bats, and Alex has 10 home runs and 10 at bats, Alex will be the higher ranked person here, so he'll be 10th, and that'll only affect 10th place. That won't affect other places. I'll just do ties are fine. All right. Alex, please choose a number between 1 and 25.
24. I'm doing it.
All right. Mac.
17.
Answer is 8. You may go first.
All right.
Both of
I like
you
how you know exactly what I'm always going to pick now each time,
Yes.
so you curate. Honestly, what you need to do sometime is just have it go 1 through 24 here, and because you know I'm going to say 24 and then make the answer like 1.
Yeah, it'll be 23 through 25.
It's
Okay.
24. Sorry, it's 25. Dang it!
It'd be like that. All right. Mac, both of you will pick a player. I will not tell you the scores until after both of you have picked a player.
Okay.
All right. The category right now, entering play today. Mac, who has the 10th most plate appearances in Major League Baseball this season?
Oh, my God. 10th most plate appearances? Julio Rodriguez.
Okay. Sure thing. Alex?
You know, I'm also going to go with a Mariner because I'm going to go with one that's been very consistent in playing time here, and that's Cal Raleigh.
All right. Mac, you get 3 points. Julio is third.
Nice.
Alex, you, by 2 plate appearances, miss the bomb zone. Cal Raleigh is 16th.
Okay, so I got 0. Okay.
Yes, you get 0.
I thought you were honestly about to say, like, by 2 points, you get 10 points. I'm like,
Yes.
let's go.
Number 10 by my tiebreaker rules is Kyle Schwarber. He's at 528. Trey Turner is also at 528, but he has more plate appearances per game. All right. Alex, you will start here. Who has the 10th most at-bats this season?
Oh.
Okay, so very similar to the plate.
Very similar.
Very similar.
Very
Michael
similar.
Harris skyrockets up this list.
You know, I'm gonna take a lesson from history here, and I'm going to say Kyle Schwarber.
Okay, Kyle Schwarber. Let me find him and highlight him.
Having to find him means that it's probably not
great.
there.
Mac.
I'm going to go with Francisco Lindor.
All right, Francisco Lindor. I also have to Control F is the greatest invention of all time. All right, Mac. Francisco Lindor is tied for 5th.
Okay.
And Kyle Schwarber is tied for 38th. Alex is also
tied still 0.
Cal Raleigh. So if you had said Cal Raleigh, you would have gotten the same number of points.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so wait, how many points do I get then?
You get 5 points. You are up to 8,
Let's
Mac.
go.
And you have the board here. Who is 10th in runs scored?
Oh my, 10th in runs scored. That's a good question. I'm going to go with another Mariner in that case. I'm going to go with Randy Arozarena.
Okay, Randy.
I know he's been batting leadoff lately, so
Honestly, that's very fair.
All right, Alex.
Let's go. You know what? I'll go with Mariners, I guess. I'm gonna go with Julio.
All right, one of you got 10 points. The other one did not. Congratulations, Alex. That's a 10.
what?
Julio is 10th in runs scored. He is 77. Randy Arozarena is tied for 23rd. So, Alex, you take the lead as we move into another category.
No way, dude.
That is hits.
Ow.
Who is
That
the
is
10th most hits
crazy.
in Major League Baseball?
Hits?
Yes, hits.
Okay.
Just a little, could be a bloop, little single, could be a mash, could be 500 feet.
Bloop and a blast. Yep.
Most times touching first. This is not actually the most times touching first base. This is the most times touching first base in anger. I'll say that.
Okay.
Fair enough. I'm going to go with. I'm trying to think of the people that are batting like 300 because I feel like that's a good place to start at here. He was injured a little bit ago here, so I don't know if he'll be on the list, but I'm gonna go with Jacob Wilson.
Jacob Wilson. Okay. Mac.
I'll go to a guy you mentioned earlier. I'll go with Trey Turner.
All right. Trey Turner is 3rd. Jacob Wilson is outside the top 40. So, Mac, you take the lead.
The injury has hurt him bad.
Yeah, I was about to say I keep forgetting how long ago that injury was.
Yeah, it was
he's not batting 375 anymore.
I'm pretty sure he's out for the I don't know if he's out for the year, but he's out for a while.
That'd be
That
lame.
makes sense.
All right, Mac, doubles. Who has
Doubles.
the 10th most doubles?
Doubles.
Ooh.
I
know. I'm going to go back to Francisco Lindor.
All right,
Okay.
Francisco Lindor. All right, Alex.
All right. Doubles. Let's go with Trey Turner.
All right. So first of all, Lindor is outside the top 50, and Trey Turner is tied for 19th. So no points.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Darn.
Alex,
Hello.
10th most doubles. It does happen. 10th most triples. It does happen to be
Okay.
5.
Okay, triples.
10th
That
most
makes more
triples.
sense. Okay, there's not a whole lot of triples out here. I'm going to go with one that should. I feel like this is a scary pick because he's been kind of jumping up and down a bit lately.
There are a lot of bombs here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Chandler Simpson.
Okay, Chandler Simpson. Sure thing.
Okay.
I just saw a clip of him hitting a triple.
All right, Chandler
Okay.
Simpson. Yes. Matt.
I'm going to go with Corbin Carroll.
Okay, Corbin Carroll does get you a point. Chandler Simpson is outside the top 50. He only has 2 triples.
Okay, fair enough.
And to be clear, Carroll leads the league with 14.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Home runs. Mac, who is the 10th most home runs?
I have to do some thinking here.
I was about to say, you got to go a little farther down the list.
I feel like I'm. Oh God, there's some real. To do. I know there are a couple guys there are a couple ties.
Mhm.
I know who the top 5-ish are, top 6 or so are. I am going to go with. Man, this is risky. I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Okay, Juan Soto.
I feel like I definitely just hit a bomb.
All right. Alex.
Okay. I'm going to take some just guaranteed points here and say Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani nets you 2 points. And Mac, with the big bopper here, as Juan Soto is tied for 7th.
Ooh.
So that'll fire you up to 20 points. You lead 20-12.
Go.
I forget who went first. I guess Mac did.
Alex? No, Alex went first.
All right, Alex, who is the 10th most RBI?
10th most RBIs here. I would like to say Eugenio Suarez.
All right, Eugenio Suarez. Mac, you can win.
I know, and I'm gonna go. There's a guy who was hurt recently, so I believe that slid him down the standings a little bit. I'm gonna go with Aaron Judge.
Okay, Alex, +4 for Eugenio Suarez, but Aaron Judge nets you the win, Mac. He is 6th place with 88 RBI. That's
a feeling.
Congratulations. So going back through, if you wanted 10th places, you'd get Trey Turner, or Kyle Schwarber, technically, with my plate appearances per game shtick. And at bats, that would be Manny Machado. In runs, that would be Julio, tie with Kyle Tucker. Hits would be Brent Rooker. Doubles would be a 3-way tie or 4-way tie. Machado, Churio, Freeman, Contreras, Wilson, Contreras. I'm not going to math out who would have tied for the win. Several players with 5 triples: Michael Garcia, the GOAT, CJ Abrams, Bellinger, Beck. Home runs, 10th. PCA, Seiya Suzuki, Riley Green, tied for 10th. And RBI, 10th is a tie between Junior Caminero and Rafi Devers. So good job, Mac.
Okay. Thank
Big
you.
dub.
I almost guessed.
Way to go.
I almost guessed Devers there.
Yeah, that would have been a funny one to pick Shohei, because Shohei is 11th. And that was a bomb.
Yeah, well, that's the tough part about batting leadoff. Is a lot of times I'm pretty sure there's something about like most of his RBIs are just him driving himself in.
Yeah. Also, shout out to runs scored, because he has 20 more runs than anyone in baseball and 31 more runs than anyone in the National League.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not a crazy fan of that statistic. It's not like when Immaculate Grid has 100 runs scored in a season as a category, I don't do particularly well with it. I know there are like a couple goofy ones. Like I know Orlando Cabrera scored 100 runs in a season once. I think JD Drew may have gotten 100 his one year in Atlanta. Like I know that I know of a few good answers, but like it's not one that I always keep track of.
I mean, Shohei is darn. If he had like a hot streak, he could get a run per game.
Wait, how many does he have? How many does he have?
He has 114 runs in 118 games.
Whoa, hold up.
So
114 already?
Yes, let me do a comparison.
Dude, no way.
Since I started watching baseball, the most absurd run scoring season is Ronald. He had 149 in 159 games.
I know Jeff Bagwell had like 100, close to 150 one year.
He had 152 in 159 games.
Exactly. That was on the team that lost 90 games, by the way.
That is insane. That wasn't even his best season. That's the funny part. He had 104 and 110 games in the strike year. But
that was the year he won MVP, but if I'm not mistaken, he got hurt right before the strike happened.
Yeah,
so Matt Williams probably would have won it.
Probably loses out.
But yeah, that was a really fun segment.
That was a good one.
We should do that with pitching at some point.
Okay,
I think.
I was also thinking about doing a historical one, but
that would be great too. Yeah.
I'm trying to not. I wanted to be fair with the tiebreakers because I was going to do 2020 home runs, and there's like 8 people tied. It's like, are you kidding me?
So, 2020 best players: Kyle Lewis,
Luke
Marcell Ozuna won 2 legs of the Triple Crown.
Adam Duvall.
Yes.
And Kyle Schwarber apparently was bad enough in those 60 games that the Cubs decided not to tender him a contract.
And he might be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Cubs, but that was a bad idea. I know they also almost non-tendered Chris Bryant that offseason, but
that would have been not a bad idea.
I mean, they were able to sign him, and he was good. Or they brought him. They kept him around. He was good enough so that they traded him for Alex Canario trade deadline. And I mean, it was whatever. The Rockies were the losers there.
Shout out to Javi Baez, All-Star 6 years later.
Exactly. I'm always going to root for Javi Baez. I was a huge fan of him in Chicago. I really liked him in New York too.
Yeah, unironically, best as a Met.
Exactly. Yeah, his play discipline was like good actually. Anyways, thank you for that, Splash. That was a fun segment, and I hope we do that again. Anyways, we've reached the end of our show, which means it's time for the moment to ourselves. You get our 60 seconds or so to talk about whatever the heck is on your mind. So, gentlemen, would either of you like to go first? All right, I saw Alex's hand go up first, so I'll count you down. Your time starts in 3, 2, 1, begin.
Ichiro's one of the funniest dudes. I got to go to the number retirement here, and he started one of the first things he said in his speech of it was, I would like to quote the great and one of my favorite philosophers, George Kenneth Griffey Jr. And I just about lost it. And they panned over to Griffey. He just was like, oh no, what is he gonna say? What is he gonna say? And it was nice. I'm gonna move on to my other here. I just wanted to make sure I mention that was an amazing day to be there for the game here. And finally, the Mariners broke a losing streak of 6 straight games lost on either a Mariner Hall of Fame induction or number retirement ceremony. So good job, Mariners. Speaking of my Mariners as well, last year, this is a tweet from Larry Stone. By the way, at Stone Larry, really good follow. Last year, the Mariners lost a 10-game lead over the Astros in 24 games, here spanning over 31 days, June 18th to July 19th. In this year, the Astros have lost a 7-game lead over the M's in 27 games, spanning 33 days, July 10th through August 12th. History started to repeat itself a little bit, ain't it? So, what does that mean? Again, baseball is fickle, and we still have about 40 games left to go. What I do know is that the Mariners are playing excellent baseball. I am in love with watching them right now. The team looks complete right now. Adding in Gino and Naylor and even adding in Ferguson has really helped this team feel full. And I cannot wait. And I'm being very clear here. Cannot wait until Victor Robles is cleared again to go play right field, because I like Dom Canzone. I really do. He's my boy here, but Victor Robles out in right field, having the ultimate hype man outfield here with him, Julio, and Randy Rosarena. Oh, that's gonna feed families. Come on.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was going to wear my Mariners hat on air, and then I remember they faced the Mets this weekend.
Yeah, we have our little rivalry game here. You don't play over the shows much anymore, so we can't make the name bet.
Yeah, I need to upgrade my system before I make another bet like that. Also, because last year when the Mets and Mariners played, they got absolutely embarrassed that weekend, and it was honestly, I kind of look at that as like I wouldn't say a turning point, but it felt like rock bottom like rock bottom since the OMG era, because it was like 22-1 that weekend. I was really I was in Japan that weekend, so I didn't really watch much, but I remember they got absolutely embarrassed. But let's see what happens this weekend. I remember the Mariners coming to town around Labor Day weekend a couple years ago. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm intrigued. The Mets are calling up Nolan McLean to pitch against them on Saturday. Ooh, so I'm looking forward to that. All right, Splash, would you like to go next?
I'd like to do that more than looking at the score of my Barves. Good Lord.
It's still early. Okay. Would you like to go?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Your time begins in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. So I did go to the Bristol game. Technically, I saw no pitches thrown. If you go to a game and it gets double rain delayed and you don't see any actual baseball, did you actually go to the game? I don't know. I have a couple issues, aren't the right word, but concerns. I don't know if these are NASCAR's fault, MLB's fault, the weather's fault. So it rained. Obviously, that's not baseball's fault. That's not NASCAR's fault. It rains sometimes. That's fine. Some of the Wi-Fi, like there's 85,000 people trying to get into the stadium. Can we like figure out people so you can have your StubHub app open or Ticketmaster or whatever you use for your tickets? Can we figure out a way that people can be able to open their apps and scan their tickets? It took my dad like an hour and a half to pull up StubHub and get the tickets up. Concessions, I think this is a NASCAR thing because you can bring in outside food to NASCAR events. Major League Baseball doesn't let you do that. But they did do that Sunday morning after comically people were getting bunless hot dogs and cheeseless nachos after like the first inning. Note there was only one inning played. So by the time the game started, they were out of buns and they were out of nacho cheese. Listen, I have talked at length before that I like the showcase games. If anything, I think there should be more of them. I think there should be a Field of Dreams game every year. Make it a series. There should be Williamsport games every year. Make it a series. There should be games at Rickwood every year. Make it a series. You have the Japanese series every year, or the Japanese, Korean, the outside of the United States, international series, London series. Make that every year. Go to Paris. Go to Mexico City. Have a series there. I don't know. Do like I guess Angels in the Outfield is based on an actual team, so that doesn't make much sense. And as like Rookie of the Year or Little Big League, movies like that. But I don't know. Do fun things like that. You have 162 games, and say every other year you get a team gets like one of their quote unquote home series is actually a series at a showcase event. So you play 81 road games, 78 home games, and 3. You're the designated home team, but you get in more of the gate receipts for that series. And I think baseball needs to do a better job of having these showcase games, showcase days. We see it with the NFL. We see it with the NBA. The NBA, they have Christmas. The NFL is trying to take it. I will say that. The NFL has Thanksgiving, has Black Friday, has they're trying to get Christmas. College football, they have New Year's. Baseball, you need to gobble up Memorial Day, gobble up the 4th of July, gobble up Labor Day, gobble up have the Rickwood game be on Juneteenth? I don't know. Just gobble up these days because you're the only sport that has that ability in April, May, June, July, August, and September. Because there's no real holidays for football to use because they start after Labor Day. The NBA and NHL can't really do statement games in April and May because those are called playoff games, and those are already, showcasing. You're not going to, Memorial Day action in the NHL. It's just a regular playoff game. Memorial Day action, Father's Day action in the NBA. It's just the NBA Finals, right? That just happens to be a day it falls on sometimes. So Major League Baseball figured out. I liked the idea. I know the weather didn't cooperate. Some of it's NASCAR. I had a $1 trillion idea. I will not be disclosing it because I'm going to go to the patent office and get that situated this weekend. But baseball, more of it, please.
Yeah, and honestly, I think, like you were saying, I think it was a solid idea to put the game in Bristol. But it sounds like they were a little unprepared.
Absolutely.
I know you can't predict that it's going to storm when you pick the teams and the date for the game. I don't know, about a year out. But I'm also confused. How the heck do you get nachos that don't have cheese? That is not a thing.
I mean, that's just chip and baby jalapeno.
It's just chips.
It's just chips at that point.
Yeah, it's just chips and a raw dog.
I know if you're all about your sort of bodybuilder diet, maybe you eat a hot dog without a bun. Like, go ahead, be my guest. But that's kind of goofy. I heard they ran out of beer too. I mean, look.
They were not prepared from a concession standpoint. That is more of a NASCAR issue.
That probably is.
Yeah.
Because you can bring in food to NASCAR events.
Yeah.
At
So
least
honestly, I like you said, I do like the idea of them doing games like that, though. It doesn't necessarily have to be like at a racetrack or at it doesn't have to be in London or whatever. But like, I do want them to do more things like that. You know how like the NFL has game. I think they played a game. They started playing games in Germany.
Yep. They played in I think Colts and Panthers or Giants and Panthers.
Yeah, because I remember it was the tank off.
Tyrone Tracy, great game.
Yeah.
Like this year they're playing in Dublin. The college football is going to Dublin to start their season.
Didn't they play in Brazil last year?
Yes, they did. That was when Jordan Love got hurt.
Yeah.
They're playing in Brazil this year. Chargers Chiefs. They played in Mexico before.
Exactly.
They played at multiple stadiums in the UK. Italy is on the docket. I don't think this year, but very soon.
I know. Yeah, they do have Italy in the plans. Yeah, I think MLB has an opportunity, and I think they're going to take the opportunity.
It's just Canada before too.
Again, it's about planning.
Absolutely.
I think it was a good idea, just poor execution.
I say the off day, so you could actually play the game Sunday, but like we weren't able to stay. There are a lot of people that weren't able to stay.
That's the problem. Yeah.
That's just a weather thing, but.
I only have two problems with this, right? And that is that if you're going to play at a stadium that, like for this certain thing, have at least some level of roofing, just in case, right? Like, and I understand that, that's a lot of money for that, but this was a lot of money here that just got thrown really out the drain, and it made the MLB honestly look like a joke for that day. Here. The other thing with it that I have an issue with is just when you take away home games from teams, that it does hurt, especially in baseball where the stadium matters more than I would say in any other sport because the dimensions are different. But that being said here, right? I love seeing games in it. So like you said, if you're going to do games like that, either do it on a rotation basis.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, the rotation basis, or like also actually alongside with here, like you said, Splash, giving a like a percentage of the a larger percentage of the gate here, another fundage for the team itself.
Yeah, because like I'm thinking, so the NFL, for example, the 17th game, it alternates between the AFC hosting and the NFC hosting. Could it be like 1 year the AL hosts the showcase games, and then the next year the NL hosts the showcase games, and that like alternates? Maybe that works. I get it with the roofing. Some stadiums would be easier than others for that. So like Rickwood, I don't know how they would figure that
it's,
out.
It's a really old stadium, so
yeah,
it'd be hard to do
that.
that.
You might as well just build like a giant tent. That might be a better idea. But I think baseball needs to do a better. Like they're doing the Players Weekend again this year, which I think is good, but
nickname jerseys, please.
Please bring back the nickname jerseys.
Don't do the really boring, like the boring designs. Just
I remember
have, like,
2019
on the regular jersey.
Yeah.
Or
all right.
Like I don't know, like Ozzy on the regular Braves jersey. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
All right. Can one of you count me down?
Absolutely. Your time begins in 3, 2, 1, begin.
Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about last week. It was pretty awesome. I know I already sort of detailed it, but I was really kind of racing without expectations. I didn't really train super intensely for this weekend. It was in the 50-meter pool, the long course pool, and I maybe trained four or 5 times in the long course pool leading up. And compare this to when I went to nationals 3 years ago. Granted, I got COVID the week before that meet. It's like night and day, really. Second place in the 200 butterfly, 9 seconds faster. I went 5 seconds faster in my 400, about a second faster in my 100 butterfly. The progress is there, even though I didn't, like I said, I decided very late to go. I wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to complete some of my races because of my training, but I was pleasantly surprised, really happy with bringing home 4 medals. By the way, I will pull one of them in front of the screen right now. Really sick design, USMS. This is awesome. So please keep coming up with good designs. It was really, really cool to actually have something that looks like that with the mountain. So that was awesome. Like I said, the Mariners game was great. Some dude took me, I forget his name. It was awesome. T-Mobile Park is one of my favorite stadiums now. I felt like a local almost wearing a Mariners hat around. On my last day, someone was like, "Are you're from New York, but are you a Mariners fan?" And I was like, "Well, I went to the game the other day and I had a great time. So, and I like Ichiro. But yeah, it was really cool. I got to spend time with a teammate that I don't know super well. So that was fun. I met a lot of cool people. The great thing about master swimming is it's for fun. I think that the best athletes have fun with what they're doing. So it was a lot of fun. It gave me a reason to get out of the house for a week, which was nice. For those of you who don't know, I'm home alone right now. Like I said, you get to meet a lot of people, from all over the country, all over the world. So yeah, overall, A+ week out in Washington, and I hope we head back there. I know we like summer nats being outdoors, but I would not mind going back to Federal Way.
Yeah, it must have been some weirdo who'd want to take you to a baseball game.
Yeah, that dude. That dude was an interesting character. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also hear that he's super sexy and everyone loves him, and he's the leader of some podcast. It's something like
also
that.
Worth noting that
maybe the leader in most times gotten fired.
No, that's you.
No, I don't know about that one. I don't know about.
I noticed that we were sitting next to some Phillies fans in
I did notice
Seattle, and I really had to restrain myself from saying anything.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
But I am a polite human being sometimes. Yeah. Anyways, that does it for us. So thank you all for listening. Make sure to follow us at LAR_baseball on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Splash at Mr. Splashman19. Follow Alex at the Sports Guy 242. Follow myself at Mathias_A_K. We are in the dog days this summer. We've got 6 weeks left of the regular season, so keep tuning in every week. And for all of us at LAR, thank you all for listening. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all real soon. Take care.